In today's presentation, this is how I went from a broke, clueless college student with little real-world skills to making over $1,000 a day, working just 3 to 4 hours while still traveling to over 19 different countries. And this was all before the age of 22. So this is back in my college dorm room. And if you are new to our trainings, my name is Kekoa MacAuley, founder of the Modern SDR. We teach normal everyday people, the skill set of sales and ultimately how to make their first $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 a month online, right? But this was me back in, I guess this was August 27th in 2019. I had a lot of these so there's actually all these computers that I bought on Craigslist. So I was running an Instagram marketing agency at the time, started to have some success, right? And this was just one of 5 different super old PCs that I had in my room, in my college dorm room, right? We were literally using the college Wi-Fi. These computers were running 24/7. It was extra, probably 10 degrees hotter in my room than the rest of the whole college dorm room, just because of all the computing power, all this stuff. But we were running a ton of bots, for Instagram and a lot of different stuff at the time. But that was pretty cool, right? And that was, what I was doing then, but wasn't really making any money, right? Fast forward, 3 or 4 years later, this is rented out in Dubai, but we had a blast driving some supercars out in Dubai. And that's all possible because of one skill that I'm going to be talking, to you guys about here today. Now, just to give you guys some proof, if you have come to some of our past webinars, you've probably seen this, but early 2021, I had my first $15,000 day inside our business before, at age 23, we did just over 3 million in income there. You can kind of see how this kind of breaks out between the multiple different businesses that we run. And, this is just some of our daily, weekly payouts, to Stripe. And, once again, I mean, you guys can think all this is fake, whatever. But at the end of the day, hopefully, by the end of the training, you can see how you guys could eventually start, building an income kind of like this as well. So if that sounds cool, just drop a 1 in the chat. And I'm excited to get going with you guys. Now, this is going to be an epic training that will make you guys realize that really scaling your income isn't about new shiny tactics, right? It's not about, AI tools or even building complicated businesses. And while everybody might be telling you to, buy the latest crypto coin, invest in the newest GameStop meme stock, right? Or really just learn any of these scammy business models like YouTube automation, faceless Instagram pages, right? All these really saturated business models, or even, invest into a passive income stream like Amazon automation. This will instead show you one simple skill that will actually take you straight to the money and make you irreplaceable in a world where artificial intelligence is only growing and job layoffs are ever more apparent, right? Your ability to scale your income and sustain this income, right, which is incredibly important, part of this, because making money is cool, but how do you just sustain it? How do you actually gain enough financial confidence so in any economy, no matter what situation you're in, you will have success, right? So that's what we're going to be going over today. And really, the ability to scale your income, it really just depends on how focused and disciplined you are at keeping your one thing, the one thing, right? And, I've struggled with this a lot, right? I have shiny object syndrome. We see crypto, we see, all these new opportunities, AI, start, a social media marketing agency, drop shipping, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, right, any of these things could work, but it comes down to focus, right? And it comes down to focus on one actual thing, right? Not doing all these different, random things, 1 hour here, then we take a break, then we're doing another 30 minutes here, starting another side hustle over here, right? I think there's a quote. It's like a man who chases, 2 rabbits catches neither, right? So if we're chasing multiple different rabbits, we're putting all our eggs in different baskets, it's going to be very hard to come out on top, right? So hopefully if you take even just one thing away from this presentation here today, is that you just focus on one thing, because that's how you're going to get the best results, right? And I know this from experience, right? I might be young. I'm not sure how old everyone is here, right? But from the past 10 years of running, the business and, having a ton of failures along the way, as well as some success, right? I've realized that the biggest thing is just focusing on one thing, right? So in this training, I'm going to be walking you through a simple 3-step system, right? That will allow you to go straight to the money and give you financial confidence and leverage, right? So that in any economy, any situation, that you will always have a way to provide income for yourself and your family. Are you guys excited for that? Just drop a yes in the chat if we'd be excited to see the simple 3-step system that will allow you to go straight to the money and actually give you financial confidence here. Are we excited for that? Drop a yes in the chat if you're ready for that. We got some coffee. It's 9:12. Gotta make sure we're staying away for this. Anthony's ready. Joshua's ready. Daniel's ready. Sweet. Tamara's ready. Astrina's ready. Cool. Now, this same 3-step emotionless sales system is the same process that allowed me to, go from making $0 to $1,000 a month, right? Literally took 12 months for me to do that. Then going from 1K to 5K a month, 90 days later, 3 months later, to then making $10,000 a month, 45 days later, and then making $20,000 a month, right? And this is in profit 3 months after that, right? And this same 3-step emotionless sales system allowed people like Andrea, right? Here's a photo he sent with him and his beautiful wife, right? But this allowed Andrea from Italy, he met his wife out in Thailand, to leave his 9-to-5 job, have his dream honeymoon with his beautiful wife, finally travel the world while making upwards of $15,000 per month every single month. Right here, right? He said he surpassed 50,000 in net commissions. I think this was I'm not sure if this was all in 1 month, but he made $30,000 right here, the Stripe screenshot, right? And he actually helped out another one of the students, Kevin, who made around $2,500 in just 15 days, right? Kevin, was 18 years old, used to work out in the strawberry fields, literally quit his job, started this opportunity, right? And started crushing it, right? Jason was able to match his monthly salary at Amazon in just 1 week, right? He made about $1,600 from like 5 days of work, doing this fully remote, right? Ashala, she literally just found, a sales position kind of using the tactics that we went through. Amanda, right, got an increase on her base rate, increasing her commissions. Steve closed a $100,000 deal using this 3-step emotionless selling system. Frederick made $3,250 in commissions, and tons of other students, right? We have Maze here, right? $18,000 in sales, Jake 3x his salary, right? The list kind of goes on, right? And most importantly, right, as kind of shown above, it's not just, help me out, do all these things, but this 3-step emotionless selling system is allowing, people just like yourself potentially, and our other 719 travel in Miami, right, to really move into what I call the new value-based economy, right, where you can get paid for your value, right? To hear, right? I know what everyone's doing for work, how everyone's making money. If you guys want to drop that in the chat, but who here feels like they could be getting paid more, right? Who here feels like they could be making more money? They maybe should be paid more money, right? Paid more for the value that they're putting in, right? And not their time. But let me know in the chat who feels that way, right? Maybe put a yes, put a 1, right? Who feels like they should be making more money? Ronald says he should be making more money. Francisco says he should be making more money, right? Who else? Tamara's a bartender, right? I've heard bartending actually makes like pretty good money. I have some friends that used to bartend. But cool. So Joshua, thinks we can make more money. Astrina, Anthony, right? So a lot of us think we can make more money. And honestly, we should be, right? Because there's a new economy called the value-based economy where normal everyday people are actually getting paid for their value and not their time anymore, right? And that's what I'm going to be showing you guys here today. Now, once I discovered this new value-based economy, I was able to, start traveling a little bit, right? This was out in Dubai with the camels. This was out in San Diego. These are some of my other entrepreneur friends I met. This was Luke, actually. He's one of my mentors. You might have seen, one of our videos over on YouTube. Another guy, Francisco's from San Diego. See, that's awesome. I think I'm not sure what restaurant this was at, but this was at, I think this was in like Cardiff area or La Jolla. I'm not really sure. But yeah, met some amazing people out in San Diego, right? This is me and my beautiful girlfriend out in Aruba, right? We had I think our second date was in Aruba, so we went there. This was out, you know, in Dubai racing some supercars, right? This was in Greece. This was another one of my friends that we met kind of traveling in Europe, right? And these are just some of the you know, kind of fruits of the labor, right? Now, if you're on this training, right, this is really going to be for you. You know, maybe if you're working a 9 to 5 job, right, and you don't feel like you're getting paid what you're worth, right? Maybe you're already in, you know, sales or online business, right? But you're not making the commissions that you really want to make, right? Maybe you're running a business, but you're overwhelmed with the 20, 30 different skills you have to learn, right? Maybe you're, you know, starting to feel the impact of inflation and rising bills every year. I was literally out in Toronto, right? Now we're of course in Brazil, but I think in Brazil we maybe spend like $1,000 a month, maybe like $1,500, and most of it's on food, right? Some of it's like on travel, like back and forth, right? But we are in Toronto, and like it was expensive, right? It was $7,000 a month, right? We have rent, you know, food, delivery, you know, have maids, right? People coming over, right? And I have other friends, you know, spending $10,000, $20,000 a month, you know, just for the rent and you know everything like that, right? So maybe, you know, you're starting to feel the impact of inflation and rising bills, right? Um, Maybe you lack the proper environment, right? Friends, family, relationships needed to, you know, become the person that you want to be, right? Or maybe you just feel like you can't provide for your loved ones and family and could be doing more with your life, right? So maybe if you resonate with that, right, hopefully you would get a ton of value from this training, right? So this goal, right, the goal of this short training, and for those of you just kind of tuning in, welcome, right? But the goal of this short training is to actually transfer the skill set, right? Transfer to you the skill set and the 3-step emotionless selling system that allowed me and our students, right, to experience true freedom, right? Going from zero, making literally just $1,000 a month, right? I mean, this was still in school, but like I literally tried this whole online business thing for like 12 months. Absolute failure, right? It was terrible, right? Made $1,000 like max. To then, right, going to $5,000 a month 3 months later, right? $10,000 a month 45 days later, and then $20,000 a month like 90 days later, right? So before we get started, kind of jumping into like the actual meat and potatoes of this, I do have a few requests, right? So if you guys can turn off all your electronics, right? Use airplane mode, close all of the tabs, right? I guess don't use airplane mode if you're watching on your phone because then it'll cut out the Zoom, right? But there's going to be a ton of value, right? So I just don't want you to miss it. So if that sounds fair, that'd be awesome, right? Now, two, I believe this webinar will have the potential to change lives, right? Including your own, but I need help creating more awareness. And I kind of asked for this at the beginning, but really, if you just, you know, take a picture of this moment, post it on social and tag me at Kekoa Mac, right? I'm going to be sending everyone who does this a gift over on the DMs. So our team's kind of like managing the DMs, but I'll make sure that we send you over a free gift. And it's going to give you some more like, you know, material sauce on all this, right? So if this is valuable, if throughout the presentation, you're like, yeah, I think someone else, you know, would have impact from this, you know, just post it on social, tag us. That would be awesome, right? And number three, take notes, and most importantly, block time on your calendar for actual execution of this. So at the end of this presentation, I'll also shoot you guys over this doc inside the chat, so you can make sure that you're able to like kind of stay on top of it and get as much you know, results from that as possible. So if that sounds fair, just drop a 1 in the chat if we're on board for that. Just as long as we're all paying attention, I just want to make sure that we're all here. So yeah, just drop a 1 in the chat if that sounds cool. Sweet. Christopher's in, Tanya's in, Joshua's in. Awesome, y'all. So how did it feel being stuck making 3,000 to 5,000 a month, right? And honestly, this was like from like 0 to 5K because I was stuck at, you know, 0 to 1K a month for, you know, a while, right? But, you know, if you're in the same position that I was in, you know, in 2018, 2019, kind of when you saw me on that college dorm room, right? You probably feel the following emotions, right? And made the following realizations, right? Maybe you achieved the big goal of doing what society told you, right? I mean, I went to high school, I went to college, I did all these things, right? But I still felt like there was something missing, right? And I actually went to a pretty good college, right? I went to Vanderbilt University, had financial aid, you know, there's some scholarship stuff, but still, even though I was there, right, I was learning a lot of good stuff, right? That I feel like helped, you know, my people skills, things like that. But I still felt like there's something missing, right? So maybe that's you. Maybe you feel like there's more to your potential, right? and therefore you still end up dissatisfied. Maybe you feel overwhelmed with the amount of work that it takes to generate money, and it feels like you're on the same hamster wheel, right? Either inside a business that is not working, right, that you're trying to start as a side hustle, right? Or in your 9 to 5 job, right? Or maybe you look and see all these influencers and these social media kids working less than you, traveling the world, who are making your yearly salary in just 1 to 2 months, and you feel like it isn't fair, right? I saw this like 10-year-old kid literally making like $29 million the other day, right? Just from posting YouTube videos. It was crazy, right? And, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, honestly, that's awesome for the kid, right? But maybe you see that too, and you're just like, yeah, he's a 10-year-old kid making some videos. I don't really feel like it's fair, right? So if that's you, I mean, hopefully this presentation will help you out too, right? And maybe you honestly do feel financially free. Maybe you actually make really good money, but at the same time, you feel like a slave to your job with no time to actually ever see your family or friends, right? Now, at my university, the whole thing was going consulting. It was like, hey, you should work for Microsoft, you should work for, Deloitte, BCG, Bain, you should go McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, like all these big, like either investment banking firms, Microsoft Tech, like Google, or you have to go consulting, right? That was like the three routes. And all of those you make like 6 figures a year, right? It was like great, cool. You make 100 grand, 200 grand. But the problem is that you're working 80 hours a week, right? You literally have no freedom. You don't see your friends. You have no sleep, right? And then like all my friends who did that, just like, everyone was just like ripping drugs, alcohol, like all this stuff to like pretty much get by, right? So they made decent money, but still it was once again, right, slave to the job, right? With no time to actually see family or friends. And, I never wanted to do that, right? So even though I wasn't making money, I also realized, hey, all these other things that I could make money with, I don't really want to do that either, right? So I'm not sure if that's how you guys feel, but hopefully there's something that you can relate with here, right? Now, how do you actually get out of this situation? Well, the only thing that you really need is just more leverage, right? Because getting paid for your time and not your value will only lead you to more headaches, less money in your bank account, and the feeling that you're not getting what you're worth, right? And what you'll find here is that more leverage, right? The way to acquire more leverage comes with the learning and internalization of more skills, right? And this isn't just any skills, right? Janitorial work, right, might be really helpful. But at the end of the day, it's probably not going to make you as much money as what we're going to discuss today, right? So this isn't just any skills, right? But it's specific straight to the money skill sets that allow you to tap into other people's followers, their audiences, and businesses to actually make money, right? And what we're going to be talking about here today is the 3-step emotionless selling system and how this will actually increase the amount of leverage that you have access to in your life, right? So if you're smart, you've probably realized that by now, right? Working harder is not going to make you more money, right? Working harder is not going to make you more money. In fact, it's probably just going to lead you to get taken advantage of, and it's a race to the bottom, right? So let me break down how this 3-step emotionless selling system helped me go from a broke college student to making, consistently about, $500,000 a day, but even, $15,000 a day back, right, in 2021. So that's what we're going to be going over here today, right? So you guys excited for that? Just drop a yes in the chat if we're excited for that. Does that sound cool? All right, are we on board? Rebecca's here. Ronald's here. Sweet. So the first thing that we have to analyze is your current job and skill set, right? And there's an old saying from, I believe it's Warren Buffett. I'm not positive who said it, but it's not how hard you row, but it's more about what boat you're actually in, right? Now, the 3-step emotionless selling system solves the main 3 constraints of a 9 to 5 job, right? To actually build real income. And let's take a look at Jay Abraham here, who has been known to be called the $21.7 billion man, right? And if you guys haven't heard of Jay Abraham, here he is, right? And all you really have to know is, he's called the $21.7 billion man. So that means he probably has some good ideas here, right? Now, Jay Abraham says that there's 3 profit activators needed to get paid for your value and not your time, right? And this either applies to you with a business standpoint or, right, if you're looking to leave your 9 to 5, maybe start getting paid for your value, right? Now, the first step with this is 1, getting more customers, right? So this is selling. How do we get more customers? We sell, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is we do repeat business with those same customers, right? And then number 3 is we sell high ticket products to increase revenue. And I'm not sure if you guys saw some of our old trainings, but I used to sell $27 products, right? I literally have to sell 370 $27 products in order to make 10 grand. And I think that's the right math because I mean, it's close to that, right? But still, I mean, 300 items to sell, right? That's ridiculous, right? So Jay Abraham says that there's 3 profit activators needed to get paid for your value and not your time, right? And if you're taking notes right now, this is what I take notes on, right? So if you write down in your booklet right now, right, we're going to write down this together. But what are the profit activators needed to get paid for your value and not your time, right? It's going to be get more customers, do repeat business with those same customers, right? And sell high ticket products to increase revenue. So have we all wrote that down? Have we got that internalized somewhere? Just drop a 1 in the chat if we've got that, right? Are we good to go? We wrote that down. Rebecca wrote it down. Daniel wrote it down. Cool. Tamara wrote it down. We got a lot of people here. 4 people. Okay. I'm just kidding. Christopher, Joshua, sweet. Okay, we got it down. So let's take a look at some of these business models, right? And we're going to include the 9 to 5 job in this, right? Now, let's see how many of these profit activators, right? And we're also going to be adding in location independent because I think that's a big thing for a lot of people these days. But how can we be location independent, right? So once again, what are these core activators, right? In a 9 to 5 job, can you get more customers? Well, no, you're just trading time for money, right? Can we do repeat business with those same customers in the 9 to 5 job? Well, once again, no, we're trading time for money, right? Do we sell high ticket products to increase revenue? Well, no, we're still trading time for money, right? And are most 9 to 5 jobs independent? No, you have to, go traffic, we send traffic, we go to work, we do all this stuff, right? So now let's take a look at some of the other things, right? So we got real estate flipping, right? So, let's say you're in real estate, maybe you're able to get more customers, right? And that's awesome, right? The thing with real estate is that a lot of the times you're not doing repeat business with the same customers, right? So it doesn't have that second profit activator. Real estate flipping, right? We are selling houses. So, I mean, those are high ticket, right? Houses are, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, right? So those are high ticket, but it's not really location independent. I still have to be actually showing the houses. I have to be going out to the house. I have to do all that stuff, right? Now, what about brick and mortar business? Well, first of all, there's a ton of startup capital, right? You have to, invest. Maybe you're doing a franchise. So you have to pay the, or I guess you're the franchisee, but you're paying the business that you're doing the franchising with, right? So first of all, there's going to be a really expensive startup cost with brick and mortar business, right? We can get more customers. That's cool, right? We probably do repeat business. Like let's say you're running a restaurant, right? You're probably doing repeat business, which is great, right? But then also you're not really selling high ticket products. Like most of your products are probably, $5, $10, maybe $50, but still not really high ticket, right? And high tickets generally anything between, at least $1,000, $2,000. I'd honestly say $3,000 and above, right? And then also location independent. Once again, you have to be there in person, right? So it seems like that wouldn't work either, right? So then we have e-commerce, right? We have e-commerce, we have Shopify, we have drop shipping, and you can get more customers, right? That's cool. We can do repeat business with the same customers. We can also sell high ticket products, right? Or honestly, we can't sell high ticket products because a lot of this stuff is, little trinkets, maybe, $5, $10 here and there, right? But this is location independent, which is good, right? Now, what is this last thing? What is the 3-step emotion of the selling system? Well, because we're just leveraging other people's audiences, right? They already have followers. So we're actually able to help them get more customers, right? So that's step number 1. Now we're also able to do repeat business with those customers. So let's say we have a whole product suite. Let's say we have a $500 product, a $3,000 product, $10,000 product. We're able to do repeat business with those same customers. As long as we're providing value, ethically selling with this system, we can also do repeat business. Now we can also sell high ticket products, right? Like I said, we're actually plugging our skill sets into other people's businesses, right? That have $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 products. And we're actually helping them sell to increase revenue, right? So we help them and we make money from it. And, right, this is location independent, right? So unlike all of these other potential business models, the 3-step emotionless selling system is the only thing, right, that actually checks off all the boxes for these profit activators, right? So can we start to see why this system could be so beneficial, right? Do we see that? Just drop a 1 in the chat if you guys could see, okay, if we're able to get more customers, if we're able to do more repeat business with the same customer, we sell high ticket products and we can be location independent, we're able to get the real freedom that we want, right? So drop a 1 in the chat if you guys could see this system allowing you to get more freedom, or at least kind of starting to see that, right? Joshua believes so. Kastrina, Rebecca does. Christopher, amen. Amen. Francisco does. Cool. Right? So it's very clear to see. And if we go back here, right? Remember, we're all about increasing the amount of leverage we have, right? So it's very clear here that a traditional 9-to-5 job provides you with the least amount of leverage. Would we all agree with that, right? Just drop a yes in the chat if we would agree that this is the least amount of leverage here, right? And we're all agreeing, right? So a 9-to-5 job, once again, right? Everyone needs to work. I get it, right? And at the end of the day, right, it's probably enough leverage to earn money and scrape by, right? Enough to pay the bills. But do you really have enough to thrive and prosper? Who wants to thrive and prosper? I want to thrive and prosper, right? Do you really want to work in the same job for the next 40 years? Probably not, right? And that's why and honestly, I was scared to interview. In college, I had a really bad stutter, right? I was terrified to do job interviews. I was super introverted, terrified to do job interviews, right? And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go a different route. But I also, right, I was really bad at following rules. I was terrible at following rules, right? So because of that, I realized I needed to go find a different way, right? So how can people like you and I really build massive wealth in 2024? So there's only 2 ways to make real income, right? To make almost unlimited income where you're paid based on your value and not your time here, right? Which is either going to be an online business, right? Which requires 20 to 30 different skills, tons of startup capital, right? And even with a lot of these businesses, as you see, right, they don't even fulfill all of the profit activators, right? And they might take 4 to 5 years sometimes to get up and running and huge likelihood of failure. I think there's a stat of 90% of startups fail within the first 5 years, right? Or instead, the other way, to make almost unlimited income, right? And obviously money's not going to just fall in your lap. Cash isn't just, hey, here's $100,000. But the only other thing here is something like sales, which allows you to go straight to the money, where you just need to master one skill. And once you make that sale, your job is done, right? And honestly, this is my biggest pet peeve, misspelling your and your, but yeah, it's good now. But these are the only 2 ways, right? This new 3-step emotionless selling system has allowed me to have a simple 3-step process that I know I can follow every single time and know based off the data and the math how much money I will make each month, right? So the type of selling we're doing isn't not using our emotions, but instead it's knowing the math on, hey, if I sell X amount of units, if I have this amount of inputs, right? If I'm, able to increase my skill sets, then this is exactly how much I'm going to make, right? And I'm going to get paid for the value that I'm actually providing and not the time I'm putting in, right? So would you guys be interested in seeing more about how this works, right? And how we get to know the money-making math? Just drop a 1 in the chat if you guys want to see the money-making math, right? Cool. Terry's ready, Anna's ready, Joshua's ready. Sweet. And once again, here's some other questions, right? I mean, are you tired of just the same paycheck from your boss every month? Are you sick knowing that deep down you could get replaced, right? And I was afraid of this when I was younger too, right? Are you sick knowing that deep down you could be replaced without even a second thought if there's a cheaper option, right, for getting the same output? You know, AI is replacing 30 million jobs, right? If there's a cheaper option, I mean, everyone would get replaced, right? Are you burnt out of having to scramble from the house to sitting in traffic to then being bored out of your mind at work just to come home and do it all over again? Right? You know, back when I was 15 years old, I was a lifeguard at my local Jewish community center. I'd go into work at 5 a.m., sit on the stand, normally falling asleep, right? Which is honestly not safe for the kids. Hopefully they're not watching this video, right? But I'd literally sit on the stand, bored out of my mind, go home 7 hours later, right? And after a month of work, literally doing this every single day, I had just over $1,600 to show from it. And this is before taxes. I think after taxes, I actually only got like $1,000, $1,200, right? And after about a month of that, I quit because it was just like, this is terrible, right? I literally got a measly paycheck, you know, $400 a week, which is actually like $300 a week after taxes, right? And that's, you know, when I first really started, I mean, I kind of had some other side hustles here and there, right? But it was at that point in time too, I knew there had to be a different path, right? And after, you know, going through this whole process, I knew that that path was something like sales, right? And now, of course, I run a business, but, you know, just starting over, it was sales. So let's break down how the sales process works here. And if you guys have any, you know, confusion, just let me know as well. But we're going to use this trading offer, for example. And once again, right, this is just a random thing I found online. I have no idea what this is, but let's say there's an advertisement, right? So maybe you guys see an advertisement on your phone, right? It's like, hey, scalp the markets with our new VIP indicator, right? Up to 93% wins per week. So maybe you click on the ad, right? Sign up. Okay, cool. This seems good. So then we go to the opt-in page. Okay, nice. The world's #1 most profitable scalping trading indicator, right? And it's trademark. Wow. Crazy. Get 24/7 lifetime access. Get access for $1. Okay, cool. Right? So I click the button. Now, when I go to click the button, there's going to be a purchase page, right? And this is where I'm adding my name, my email, my phone number, right? And this is ultimately how companies get your information and then can sell you the real money-making products. Because you might be wondering, how in the world can this company be profitable selling a $1 product, right? I mean, they might run ads and they're probably spending like $5 to $10 to even get someone to buy for $1. So like, why would they do that, right? And that leads to the question, right? How would the companies be profitable just selling $1 products? Well, where the real money is made is always on the back end. It's always going to from a higher ticket product, which is where the money is made, right? And this is ultimately from a sales call where there's probably a $3,000 to $10,000 trading program, right? Or maybe a trading bot. This one seems kind of scammy, honestly. But there's probably a high ticket trading program or bot on the back end. And who's making the money here? Well, it's the business, right? Which is the first way, but it's super complicated to set up. You have to run marketing. There's a lot of risk, right? Or you can be the person that actually goes straight to the money and you're actually helping that business sell a higher ticket product, which is way easier, way less risk, right? And 100% profit margins, right? And let's say you sell a $10,000 product, maybe you make 10% commission, right? So 10% commission on a 10K product is $1,000 in your pocket, right? So how many of you guys would be happy if from one phone call you made $1,000, right? Drop a yes in the chat if you guys would be pretty excited to make $1,000. Heck, I mean, even if this was a 5% commission, right? I mean, who would be happy making $500 a sale, right? I mean, even $500, right? So how can you actually go straight to the money, right? That's a great question. Well, in order to go straight to the money, you must find a way to be that person that takes these sales calls, right? So on average, these companies will be selling, $3,000 to $10,000 products, right? And if you make 10 to 15% commission, which is literally the industry average, right? That's how the majority of money is made, right? Now, you may have seen some of this on like other videos or trainings that we've done, but there's really two main roles to do this. Now, the first is going to be the appointment setter or remote triage, right? So the appointment setter or the remote triager. Now you can be setting sales calls in the DMs, right? Or setting sales calls on the phone. So in the DMs, this is normally going to be an appointment setter. So it's setting sales calls in the DMs, or you can be a remote triager, right? Where you're setting sales calls on the phone. So once again, right, there's probably going to be, this is probably the least amount of money amount. This would be a little bit more. So like 5 to 7% normally. Right? 5 to 7%. And then a closer, right, is going to be more like 10 to 15%. Right? So you make the most money actually closing deals because you're closer to the money. So the closer to the money you get, the more money you make, right? And what's awesome is that you can actually get paid as a 1099 contractor, right? Or an LLC. So there's a ton of tax benefits, right, that you need to know. One of them is that you can write off pretty much all your travel as well as your food, right? I think it's 100% write-offs on food as long as you're talking about business. And if you're traveling for business, right? So for us, because we do Instagram, social media, all the travel is pretty much a write-off, right? As long as it's for genuine business purposes, right? But you save a ton of money. So instead of saying, let's say you get a $50,000 paycheck, 30% is taking out, or 25% is taking out for taxes. Well, what if instead you got 50,000, but then you get to spend 10,000 on your food, travel, all this other stuff, housing, etc., because you have other business write-offs, and then you get taxed on the 40K, right? So you actually get to play with more money if you have your own LLC as well, right? So if you guys didn't know that, I would go set up an LLC as soon as possible, right? I think it's like $300 to set up an LLC, really cheap, right? Now, why is this so important? Well, you can also set up an LLC for tax benefits, but also serve as a freelancer for these businesses. So you kind of have your own business because every single business needs you. They need talented salespeople in order to have success. So the better you are at sales, the better you are at all these, processes, the more money you will make and the more leverage you have, right? And if we remember, everything comes back to your current job and skill set, right? It's not how hard you row, boat you're in. So if we're in a 9-to-5 job, trading time for money, it's going to be very hard to scale that, right? But instead, if we go straight to the money, we can get paid for our value instead of our time, right? So if you guys could see yourself having success with this, I'm about to be going into how you can actually determine your pay, but drop a 1 in the chat. Hell yes. If you guys could see yourself doing this, right? I just want to make sure this is all kind of making sense too. As we run these webinars, I don't get to see everyone's faces, so, but cool. If I see people's faces, I get really distracted, and then it's like the training's not as good. So hopefully you guys are okay with this sort of stuff, but cool. Now, so how do you determine your pay, right? So let's say you're on a sales offer, right? You're an absolute savage, you're booking 6 calls per day for a business that sells a, $5,000 offer. And our setters are doing this pretty frequently, right? But let's say, instead, you're working at home, maybe 8 hours a day in the beginning because you're still learning the skills of sales. Now, let's say you book 6 calls, right? Remember, this is going to be for a 5K offer at a 7% commission, right? So there's a 5K offer at 7% commission, right? So let's say you have worked 8 hours a day, book 6 calls, 22 days out of the month. That's 132 calls that you book, right? Now from this 132 calls, we have 105 that actually show up, right? And from that 105, we have a 40% close rate, right? So that's 42 deals closed. 5K offers, 7% commission, 350 per closed deal, right? So we have 42 deals closed from our sets, 350 per closed deal, right? That's $14,700 in our account. Is our take-home pay, right? Now let's look at it part-time, right? Let's say we're working 4 hours a day, right? We're just starting out, maybe 26 days in the month because we like to just, work a little bit. But we're booking 78 calls. 80% of these calls show up. We have 62 calls show, 40% close rate. That means we have 25 deals closed. 5K offer, 7% commission, right? $350 per closed deal. So right here, we're making $8,750, right? And what if we even cut that down to 2 hours a day, right? Maybe we're working 2 hours a day, right? Half the time, half the calls booked. Man, it's still $4,000 a month, $4,300 a month, right? Working 2 hours a day. So can we start to see how, hey, the better we are at sales, it doesn't really matter how much we're working, but if we can book more calls in the same amount of time, or if we can improve our skill sets, we're going to make more money, right? Can you guys start to see that? You can just drop a 1 in the chat if you guys are starting to see kind of all this click. Because I want to make sure that this makes sense. Does that make sense to everyone? Tamara makes sense. Terry makes sense. Christopher makes sense. Awesome. Anna makes sense. Amazing. Right? Corbin literally just got here. Awesome, Corbin. We're glad to have you, man. But cool. So how can we get to a leveraged income, right? How can we begin getting a leveraged income? Now, if we work for a corporation, and this is literally like, I'm not sure the situation you guys are in, but this is literally just from like all my friends that like work consulting and then they quit, right? Because they hated it, right? I had a bunch of friends that worked for different consulting groups and they hated it. We're not fans, right? Now, corporations, right? They have a tendency to forget the importance of having a work-life balance, right? With some small exceptions. Literally the only people that I've, talked to that are super hyped are like, they work at Google and Microsoft, right? Because I think they work like 20 hours a week and they get paid good money with tech, right? I think it's more like play than work, which is cool. But most of the time, from what I've seen, most people are not too happy in their jobs, right? And it's more of a work, maybe some more work balance, right? Where, all 9-to-5ers are, treated as a number, really than anything else, right? But see, on the other hand, the benefit of having a skill with unlimited earning potential is the fact that you will always be paid for your value and not just for filling a spot on the team, right? Not just for your time, which means that you can charge a massive premium, right? You can charge a massive premium, getting you more leverage, right? The 3-step emotionless selling system allows you to charge based on the value that you're worth, not the 40 to 80 hours a week that you clock in at a 9-to-5 job, right? And this was back late 22, Square sent, I think this was, I think we got 4 or 5 payouts that week, but $5,000 that week, right? Having some, little espresso martinis, eating the oysters, right? And we went traveling. This was out in France, right? And that was all because of leverage, right? It wasn't that I was necessarily working harder, right? But it was because I understood different economics. So instead of, right, getting paid $20 an hour, working 60 hours a week, right, which is $1,200 a week, $4,800 per month, right, which is 240 hours of life every single month, right? How many days is 240? It's like 10 days. So if I worked 60 hours a week, 240 hours, 240 divided by 24, 10 days, right? So 10 days out of every month,
And there's 12 months, so that's 120 days out of every year. I would literally trade 120 hours, 120 days for my life or of my life for $3,800 a month, right? Because we're also subtracting taxes, right? Now, on the other hand, with sales, right? Once again, honestly, the hours don't even matter, right? Like, once again, if this is my math, heck, if I worked 1 hour and I got these results, I would still make this much money, right? So the hours is actually almost irrelevant here, right? Of course, you have to know how long it's going to take you to book these calls, right? Maybe it does take 8 hours, but let's say you get better, right? Let's say your skill sets improve, boom, you cut that time down to 6. Well, we're not going to get paid less, right? We're not going to get paid less money if we went from 40 hours a week, then 40 times 20, then we're making $800, right? That doesn't happen. But we can still work less. If we're getting better results, we're still making 14,000, right? To make more money, you need more leverage, right? So once again, I think of this with cars, right? I really like the Porsches, right? So I used a Porsche for this example, right? But here's a Toyota Camry, right? Maybe it's a 9-to-5 job, capped on your income, paid on your time, not your value, no room for growth, right? And here's the scale of leverage. So how can we get more leverage? And remember, to make more money, you need more leverage. Well, we want to get in our Porsche and go faster, right? 3-step emotionless selling system, no cap on your income, paid based on your value and not your time, infinite growth potential. So the biggest takeaway, if you guys take away anything, like it's honestly not even learning sales from this presentation, but to make more money, you just need more leverage. It's not work more hours. It's more leverage. How can you provide more value to the marketplace? Well, if you go straight to the money, you help a business make more sales, you are providing so much more value than anyone else at that company. What's the only thing that a company really needs to stay alive? Well, at the end of the day, it's cash. How does a company get more cash? Sales, right? So to make more money, you need more leverage. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. Are we all on board with that? Or are we all on board of finding more ways to get more leverage in our life? Because that's all it really is. Like how do you guys feel like we can start finding more leverage in our life? Like what things can we cut out that is not improving our lives? Is it that Netflix show that we watch for 3 hours? Right? Do we snooze the alarm? Do we not get up? Do we not work on that side hustle? Like, what can we cut out to get back more leverage so we can improve, this scale? Let me know in the chat what you guys would cut out. For me, sometimes I do watch Netflix, honestly, right? Sometimes it's great to watch Netflix, but sometimes I find myself and it's like, hey, we just watched 7 hours of a show. So it's like, cool. What if I use that time to build out more systems so I can have more leverage? Right? So like the biggest thing is analyzing every aspect of life, right? And how can we improve that? Now, you might have a question. How is sales emotionless, right? Because we're going to be jumping into the meat now, right? How is sales emotionless? Well, we keep sales emotionless because we understand our numbers, right? We know the money-making math. If we take X amount of calls, we make X amount of money, right? So if this is my money-making math, once again, the hours don't matter, right? If I know I book 3 calls a day, and honestly, if I book 78 calls a month, and I know 62% or 62 of these show, 25 deals close, then I know I'll make about this much money. If that's my money math, maybe it's different, right? But if that's my money math, that's how much I make. And that's how I don't have to react emotionally. Oh, I'm worried about I'm going to make, enough money. No, it's, hey, here's the numbers. Remove emotions from this. Unlike other sales reps, right? In this situation, we're not letting our emotions get the best of us when we get hit with objections or other hard things. So we know our math, and
and we don't let our emotions get the best of us. We keep our frame, we stay on track, and we make money, right? So who wants to see the 3 steps to this process? We're going to be going over discovery, widening the gap, objection handling. Who wants to see that? Just drop a me in the chat. We'll change it up. Drop a me in the chat. If you guys want to see it. Christopher's ready. Cool. I feel like this is the best way to keep everyone engaged. I know it's late. We're on here late. Carrie is ready. Corbin, Tamara, sweet. So step number 1 is discovery, right? So the biggest thing during discovery on a sales call is understanding pain, desires, and the belief system that the prospect currently operates from. So which questions can we ask to understand the pain and desire that a prospect actually has, right? How can we understand that, right? So step number 1, framework. Well, the first step is exploration. So on the call, right, I might ask questions like, gotcha, John. So I saw, and for example, for this situation, I'll actually use this trading offer, right? So let's say we're selling a trading offer, all right? Awesome, John. I mean, what stuck out to you about the trading ad that prompted you to reach out? Yeah, I'm just looking for more info about making money. Oh, tell me more, man. What do you mean by that? I guess how much money would you be making exactly, right? When you say XYZ, what do you mean by that? Okay, cool. And what are you doing for work right now? Gotcha. How's that going for you? Right. And this might be my conversation flow, right? What are you doing for work? Right. How's that going? Oh, you don't like it? Oh, you don't enjoy it? Right. Oh, have you felt away from, has it had like, a big impact on you? Wow. Has that made things difficult? Right. So, right. Now, what's the next step? Desired situations. So now, right, we're exploring, hey, why is the prospect even interested in the first place? Okay. And then what's the desired situation? Gotcha, John. So you mentioned, right, you wanted to do XYZ, which seems more in the short term. What do you feel like the long-term goal would be for you? Cool. And, ideally with our trading system, how much would you be making? Okay, cool. I mean, it seems like you thought of that number before. I mean, why that number specifically? Is there something you would do with the money? Right? So now in our discovery phase, right, we have exploration, we have desired situation, right? And we're understanding where they are now, where they want to go, right? Do you feel like something with this, our trading system, this would allow you to make more money and get to the goals you mentioned to me? Great, right? And if you looked into, other programs before, okay, cool. How did those programs go? Oh, they went poorly. How so? Right? What happened there? Right? So with these questions, we can start understanding where the prospect is at, where they want to go, and how we can actually help bridge that gap between where they are now and where they want to be. Right? If yes, how did those programs go? Oh, they went poorly? Okay, how so? What happened? Right? If the prospect said, no, I haven't tried new programs, what has you looking into, trading specifically? Gotcha. What has you looking into something like this now? What change would you want to make? Right? Another question I might ask is, hey, I mean, there's tons of free resources out there on YouTube and online. Like, was there anything that really caught your eye specifically? Cool. And, do you have a family? What does that look like? Oh, is your, wife, husband supportive of you? Cool. Do they know you're looking into the online space? Right? So we can start to really understand where the prospect is, where they want to go, and all the decision makers that are part of that, conversation. And then the last question here, right, is, gotcha. What happens if you don't make a change? Oh, you feel like you'd be stuck in the same job? How does that make you feel? What do you feel like our trading program would allow you to accomplish?
right? So that's the question flow. I'll take them down. And just to show proof, right? We literally had Alistar. He literally closed his first deal, $600, right? We had another guy, I think this was Christian, right? He was like, hey, right? Find yourself 2 to 3 partners you can consistently practice with, right? So practice will make perfect with this. Don't be afraid to fail, right? And don't procrastinate, right? So are we all on board with step one? This is discovery, and kind of this framework makes sense for a sales call, right? So this is when we're starting off the sales call, we're kind of going through, but drop a 1 in the chat if the framework of this first step makes sense. Because I want to make sense, discovery makes sense. Corbin's on board, Christopher's on board. Cool. Tamara's on board. Sweet. Terry's on board, Joshua on board, sweet. Now, how do we widen the gap? Right? So pain is going to be the most important aspect of any call, right? And there's going to be 4 main things I'm going to be going over with you guys here today. But if there's no pain, there's no sale. Right? No pain, no sale. If we can find the pain, then we can get the sale. And if you can dive really deep to the root of that pain and continue getting the prospect to, open up, then that means you're going to make the sale, right? So generally the pain of the prospect is their before state, right? And that's what we're figuring out in the discovery stage, right? Hey, what stuck out to you about the ad? Tell me more, right? What are you doing for work? So during our pain stage and doubt stage, our goal is to get the prospect towards the far left, right, of the red before state. The farther left they are on this diagram, the larger the gap will be to their dream state. So the only solution now is to get them to their dream state, right? And that's the bridge. That's the bridge, the gap, right? With our product or service, right? So the farther left they are, the larger gap will be, right, to their dream state. And that means the more they need your solution. So the goal of these questions is to ultimately widen that gap. Okay, what's the doubt? So if a prospect is talking with you and elaborating on a pain they have, most likely they have attempted to find a solution, right? And for the first person they talk to, this is an advantage. But in the current environment, everything's super saturated. Most people talk to numerous solutions, right? So our goal is to find the doubt if they have any, and if they were to go out on their own. So an example of this might be from what we call a video sales letter, right? So there's generally like providing 2 options. Hey, you can take the information I've given you here today, try to figure it out by yourself, right? But you'll most likely lose valuable months trying to figure out everything on your own, right? Long term, it's probably going to be more expensive. You'll miss out on all the extra money you could have made if starting out the right way from the get-go. And your chance of quitting just goes way up if you get stuck, right? Two is that you choose the message, or we can help you create your own marketing agency, do all these things, right? Get the dream result, right? And this is specific VSL is for an SMMA, I believe. Now, option 1 here clearly has the goal to put doubt into your mind as a viewer, right? And then they're comparing it with option 2, where the solution is displayed, right? So when talking with a prospect, it's important to dive into the doubt and push the knife into the pain to exacerbate it, right? And maybe that sounds bad. Like that's literally what you're doing as a salesperson, right? Now, once the prospect is solution aware, there really could be 2 things which happen. They either want to solve it themselves, ego gets in the way, or they want help because they, doubt their ability, right? Or they don't want help because they doubt their ability. So if the prospect doesn't believe in themselves, then they're probably going to stay like in this range, right? But we need to get them into the realm of buying. So we need to show them, hey, that if you have a mentor, we can take you from your current state to your desired state, right? And that it's okay that even if you have this self-doubt, we can take you there. On the other hand, prospect wants to do it themselves. Maybe they have an ego. Well, we need to show them, hey, you can try all these things, but here's why you're not going to have success. And here's why, if you work with us, you're going to get there faster, right? And in the middle of that is where we call the realm of buying, right? So it's important to keep the prospect in the realm of buying by showing them that your solution is the key to getting out of their pain, right? So does that make sense to everyone? Just drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. I want to make sure everyone's on board with both the realm of buying here and doubt, right? So pain and doubt. That makes sense? Christopher's on board, Anna's on board. Awesome. Sweet. Now, sacrifice, right? So the next thing that a prospect goes through when making a purchase decision is the sacrifice they must make. There's going to be time, money, and effort all required. So the more sacrifice required, the more conviction the prospect will need in order to make a purchasing decision. Therefore, it's our job to show how the sacrifice they will make from buying, right? So the money that they're putting forward will be less of a sacrifice than they would have if they do not buy. Right? So I used this example, I think a few nights ago. But for example, let's say that my time's worth $1,000 an hour, right? That's what we charge for consulting, etc. $1,000 an hour. So I charge $1,000 an hour, right? Well, if there's a task that takes me, 3 hours, but I can pay someone, $30 and $30 for that task, right? And it saves me 3 hours. Well, essentially, I would make that, trade every single time because the sacrifice of me paying $30 to get 3 hours of my time back will allow me to make an extra $3,000. So does that make sense to everyone? If the sacrifice from buying is less than the reward received from making that decision, then that prospect will make the purchasing decision every single time, right? So once again, if the time spent and money required doing it themselves is greater than if they were to purchase, then we make the purchase decision. If the time spent and money required is less than if they were to buy, right? So if buying is a bigger sacrifice than just doing it themselves, then they're not going to make the sacrifice. They're not going to make the purchase decision, right? And this actually ties back into understanding the actual pain and even asking questions, right? That allow you to discover, hey, what's the real priority? Right? Now, desire here is the belief that will get what they want, right? So what is the thing that the prospect really wants? This is going to be the dream destination for where the prospect wants to end up after making a purchase decision. And it's your goal to uncover this along with the pain that they're actually going through. Here we want to continue widening the gap between the pain and desire that a prospect has, exacerbating the pain while truly understanding the desire. Hey, Mr. Prospect, what's the end goal for you? More money would be nice, right? A lot of sales rep would stop here, right? But at the end of the day, we need to actually really discover what they would do with more money, right? Okay, cool. With more money, what would you be doing with that increase of income? Yeah, traveling the world, seeing some new places, doing all this. I want to go to Cancun. Oh, why do you want to go to Cancun? I've wanted to go there since I was a kid. Now that I have a family, wife, it'd be great to go. Okay, cool. So what's really holding you back from taking that vacation now? Right? So right here, I really get his desire, and then I bring him back way to the other side, right? By asking, hey, what's holding you back from actually achieving that? So I take him really elevated dream state, boom, right back to before and not being able to do that, right? So does that make sense, everyone? Just drop a yes in the chat once again, if we're all on board with that. That's step 2 out of 3. And if you understand even just these 2 steps, you're going to freaking crush it with this skill, right? With this selling system. Does that make sense to everyone? Joshua gets it. Corbin's on board. Sweet. Now, what's the last thing? Right? So we got a few of these in here. But objection handling, how do we handle objections? Right? And this is something we teach, inside of our training programs, everything like that. This is probably like, if you can do this, like this is exactly how students, just like Frederick here, are making $3,000 in 3 days, right? Like he's literally making $1,000 a day, right? So if you can do this, this is huge. So let's say a prospect says, hey, it's too expensive. Okay. Right here, the prospect is likely interested, but they may have some other objection, right? So they either have no money or they're interested, but there's probably some other objection, and they're using this as a smokescreen, right? So we want to tie them down that this is in fact the best solution that they could have, and they should be ready to go. So if we handle that objection, we'll be able to get them to proceed. So I might say this, right? And we have a three-step process with this too. Three-step emotionless system for this. Diffuse, rebuttal, exploration. I'll be totally understand, John. Tell me, if you had the money here, do you feel like this is something that would work for you? Right. So let's say that again. Prospect says, it's too expensive. Can we do a payment plan? Totally understand, John. I mean, tell me, man, if you had all the money in the world, do you feel like this is something that would work for you? Okay, cool, John. I mean, why do you feel like this would work for you? Right? Tell me, John, why do you feel like this would work for you? And notice how I'm almost sounding confused here. I'm almost sounding a little, kind of stuttering a bit. Yeah, totally understand, John. I mean, tell me. Notice my inflection. Tell me. Gets a little higher. I mean, if you had all the money in the world, do you feel like this is something that would work for you? So notice the tonality there, right? Cool. Okay, that's solid, John. I mean, why do you feel like this would work for you? Okay, I mean, that's a good reason, man. And I mean, I can appreciate money might be the issue here from what you said. I mean, how do you feel like we could resolve that so you can find the money here so we can help you hit XYZ goal? Right? So we take them through diffusal, we rebut it, what they said, right? Or we get them to rebut, why they're like not going to move forward. And then boom, appreciate money might be the issue. How can we find the funds here, right? So how can we work as a team to actually get you the money that you need to make this change, right? Because at the end of the day, right, and we had this example earlier, right? Let's look up Ferrari price, right? So let's say that I have $5,000 in my account, right? $5,000, let's say. And someone offers me, we'll use a cheaper one. Someone offers me a Ferrari 296 GTB for that's normally $338,000. And they tell me, yeah, Kekoa, it's just $30,000 today. You'll save 90%. Oh, it's brand new. There's no miles on it. Yeah, no miles on it. It's 30,000. Do you think I'm going to say it's too much money? I have $5,000. Do you think I'm going to say that Ferrari is too much at 30 grand? No, I'm going to find $25,000 so I can get that Ferrari. Right? So at the end of the day, it's never a price problem. It's a value problem. Or they just don't trust you. It's never a price problem. It's a value problem. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? Drop a yes in the chat if we're on board with that. It's never a price problem. It's a value problem. It's never a price problem. Boom. Cool. Corbin's on board, right? Okay, sweet. Right? Product complexity. It seems too complicated, right? So here's another objection you might get hit with. I totally understand, John. I mean, tell me, I guess in your mind, what makes this seem complicated for you? Got it. I mean, based off our conversation so far, I mean, do you feel like this really would be the thing, the keys to the castle to get you towards your goals, right? The exact solution to take you towards XYZ? Okay, cool. And why do you feel like this would work for you? So once again, they're going to say either, yes, this is actually what I feel like is going to get you towards your goals, right? Or they're going to actually say, yeah, this XYZ part is complicated. Can you explain it more, right? So then once again, I'm getting the real objection, right? Now let's use another one. Lack of features, right? Your product doesn't have the specific features we need. Okay, totally understand, John. I mean, tell me, what would be the ideal features that you would really need? Whatever objection the prospect hits you with next, just use other loops on the training, right? So yeah, I mean, I guess if you had XYZ solution or feature, do you feel like that's all you would need to help you get out of XYZ and into XYZ goal? Yes, I would feel that way. Or they'll say no, it's still too much money. And then that's the real objection. Gotcha, right? And I go back into the money objection. Gotcha. I mean, if you had all the money, I mean, do you feel like this is something that worked for you? So you'll start to see then all these objections, like it's just a game, right? It's emotionless. There's no, I'm not getting emotional. It's just like, hey, this is what I say next, right? Everything in sales is logic, which is why I love it, right? I grew up loving math. Everything in sales is logic, though, right? It's all math. Sales is math. Maybe break it down to math, like makes it way easier. And Emmy, I saw you raise your hand. I think there's an Emmy Cozy that raised your hand. If you have a question, you can just put it in the chat. Right? Bad timing. Yeah, totally understand, John. I mean, when do you feel like a good time would be for you? So I guess in that time, I mean, in that next week, I mean, what would you really be considering about in regards to getting started with something like this? Yeah, it's just, I got to talk it over with my partner. Okay, it's a partner objection. Gotcha. So I guess what would you be talking with your partner about? Right? Same thing. Can I think about it and get back to you in a week? Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, in those weeks, what would you really be thinking about? Or I might say, gotcha, man. Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between getting started with something like this next week versus here today? Cool, John. So, I mean, I guess in those next weeks, what would you really be considering in regards to all of this? Yeah, I just want to like talk to my partner. Cool. I mean, what would you be talking to your partner about? Yeah, the pricing's too much. Gotcha. So, I mean, pricing aside, do you feel like this is something that would work for you? Okay, why do you feel like it would work for you? Boom. You see, it was like loop, loop, we double loop back, right? And then we might even ask a consequence question here. So it's like the consequence of inaction. That's kind of what I like to say. So gotcha, John. I mean, I guess if we wait a few weeks here to make this decision, which ultimately, based on our prior conversation, is something that you feel like could get you out of XYZ and moving towards XYZ goals. I mean, what happens then? How would you guys be able to get out of that pain you're in, right? So once again, we use our loops back, right? It can help move along the deal. Another one might be, yeah, I got to discuss with my brother, got to discuss with my spouse, all this, right? And Emmy, we'll probably have the recording of this over on YouTube. So you can check this out on YouTube too. Yeah, I got to discuss with my brother. Cool. I mean, not a problem. I mean, how does your brother feel about you getting out of XYZ pain and making XYZ money to take care of your mom and dad that you mentioned to me? Right. So whatever result that prospect wanted, that's how we loop back to it. Okay, gotcha, John. I mean, so I guess what happens if you go to your brother and your brother doesn't really want you to make more money? What would happen then? Oh, I'd find a way to make more money. Cool, John. So, I mean, I guess if you don't find a faster vehicle than your bartending job or your barista job and get your brother's approval, I mean, how would you be able to reach your goals so you can take care of your family and spend more time with them? Boom. Right? And that's how you handle all these objections. So there's of course a lot more objections. We have full trainings on that, all that. But does that make sense to everyone? Do we understand a little bit more about objection handling and kind of these three steps? I know we've kind of gone. I mean, this is probably 30 minutes we went through all this. But do we see how these three steps can gain us the leverage, right, that a 9 to 5 job cannot? Just drop a yes in the chat if you guys can start to see how this can actually start working for you. right? Corbin's a yes, Tamara's a yes, Christopher, sweet, right? So once again, the question now becomes, how can you get results like all of our students, right? Like Jason here, who was able to, match his monthly salary, Ashala, who got into a sales role, loving her new setter position, Amanda, who's already increased her base rate, making more commissions, Steve, who closed a $100,000 deal, Eva, that made, $120,000 cash collected, Frederick, who made, 3,250 in commission just 3 days, Andy here, who made 182,000 in the business, Sean, who made $90,000 in a day, even Leo here, right? Even Leo, right? Who said that the coaching really helped him level up, his sales skills, right? Jim out here, Jason again, Matt Hirsch, right? What is next? Well, we already know that we need to have more leverage, right? And hopefully from the knowledge that you have now, we go out and execute, right? But it's really the execution and implementation of this model that will take you from where you're at now, right, to where you want to be, right, to where you need to be. And I kind of define intelligence. I break intelligence down to this. Intelligence is defined as the ability to take information and implement that knowledge into one's daily life. Simply knowing information doesn't help. You have to implement, right? And growth at the end of the day is equal to the rate of learning plus the rate of change, right? So with more learning at a faster rate of change comes more growth, right? So really, if you want help with that implementation to get paid what you're worth, right, then keep reading and listening here, right? I've actually had, some of our head advisors here, they set some time aside on their calendar for an implementation call, right? And as I actually start implementing this 3-step emotionless selling system into your, life, into your habits, right? So you can get paid for your value and not your time, right? Now, you can qualify for this, right? If you're maybe working 9 to 5, but want more out of life, right? Or you want to get paid for your value and not your time. Maybe you're already in sales, right? But you don't feel like you're getting paid what you're worth. Maybe you're burnt out trying to start a business or new side hustles and never making progress, right? Or maybe you're just, not working right now, but you're trying to find a way to actually build real income, right? Now, I believe we actually only have 7 slots open. I'm actually not sure on the calendar. I'll pull that up for you here. We already get 40 to 50 applicants a day for this implementation call, right? 50% get automatically canceled because they're not qualified, right? And there obviously is a financial investment, right? In the multiple 4 figures range, right? Now, 50% of the rest of applicants don't get past our discovery or vetting process, right? But we give you access to our beginner programs, right? 7-day setter, SDR initiative, right? And these resources can help you get started in sales to at least get the ball rolling until you can qualify to work in our flagship program, right? To truly master this emotionless selling system, right? So if you'd like to schedule that implementation call, right? So you can start getting results like all the students, everything that you've seen here today on the live training, then you can actually book in a call here, right? I'll send you guys this link. And if anyone has questions, you can feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll be sticking around here. This training was a little bit shorter. I thought we hit probably 2 hours, but looks like we're at about 1.5 hours. So that's awesome. And hopefully you'll be qualified, right? And the system won't cancel your call, right? Our team will figure out if you qualify to speak with one of our head coaches based off the application. If your application meets the criteria, you may be sent directly to the implementation call in the strategy session, right? Now, if you do qualify for a call, please make sure you bring your partner, significant other, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Anyone who would make decisions with you, right? And we only book 1 people at a time, right? So kindly do not miss your schedule. Edward, yeah. So once again, everything's customized to you. If you hop on that call, right, we'll be able to walk things through, right? It's the mid 4 figure. It's in the mid 4 figures, right? But at the end of the day, too, we want you guys to have success. So We can work something out, figure something out if needed, right? But once again, um, maybe you want more out of life. You want to get paid for your value, not your time, right? Already in sales, you don't feel like you're getting paid what you're worth, burnt out trying to start a business, right? Etc. Right? You can book in a call and you can really, learn a little bit more how I went from a broke, clueless college student with little real world skills to making $1,000 a day, working 3 to 4 hours while traveling to 19 countries before age 22, right? You can learn a little bit more about the skill that allowed us to make 3 mil in the business before turn 23, right? Getting daily, monthly payouts of this, right? And ultimately, you guys can learn the exact system that allowed me, from literally just making $1,000, less than $1,000 for like literally 12 months straight trying to start a business, to then going to 5K a month in 3 months, 10K a month, 45 days, 20K, a month, 3 months, right? Which ultimately allowed people like Andrea to leave his 9 to 5 job, have his dream honeymoon. Jason, Steve, Frederick, Andy, Eva, Sean, all these students, Maze, Jake, and you can join the 719 plus students we have. Here's Patrick on some of the coaching calls with some of our students inside our flagship program, right? So you can move into what I call the new value-based economy, right? So you can get paid for your value and not your time, right? And really start capitalizing here in the new year, right? So if that sounds interesting, once again, you can book in a call, and I'll be here for a little bit for questions. Cool. But yeah, how are we feeling? Was that helpful, guys?